Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the Call Center Contact Center podcast. We try to give you some actionable items, take back in your contact center, improve the overall quality, improve the agent experience, hopefully improve the customer experience as well. My name is Tom Laird. I am the CEO here at Expedia Interaction Marketing. Expedia is a growing 500, 600 seat call center outsourcer located in 60-degree Erie, Pennsylvania, getting kind of spring-like. It's happening. Pretty fired up. Probably overdressed with my sweater, but we're getting through. So I wanted to talk today about a bunch of things. First of all, if anybody is going to be, I believe it's April 26th, 27th, at the Call and Contact Center Expo, please let me know. I will be there for sure. In fact, even if you need a ticket, I have about another 40 free tickets that I can give out. Just shoot me a DM on LinkedIn. More than happy to kind of send any of that stuff out to you guys. If anybody would love to do any kind of content creation while we're there, right? You want to do a podcast, we want to do a video, you just want to say hi, you want to get a drink, you want to get dinner, let me know. We'll figure some stuff out. I'm trying to meet as many people as I possibly can that I do not know or maybe just know on LinkedIn. And I always have my that core group that's with me, but I'd love to kind of expand that too. What I want to talk about today on this podcast is probably the number one or one of the top 5 topics that create a lot of different issues, questions, debate, and sometimes, especially on LinkedIn, it can get heated. But I know that if I post something on this topic, it's going to get thousands of views, right? And a lot of different comments. So I wanted to give kind of what I think about this, what my thoughts are. And again, we can have this discussion. We're doing this as an AMA as well on TikTok, as we always do, and on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn or if you're on TikTok, if you have any questions, just shoot them out, and we'll get you to be throw that as part of the podcast as well. So wowing customers. What does that really mean? Right? What does just Bank of America, when we used to run a lot of a Bank of America card services program in my other contact center, they would call it delight, right? We have to delight customers. A lot of people use wowing customers. And the definitions of this, I have gone back and forth with 400,000 times. I've gotten into really heated debates on some of the stuff back and forth. I think it's all been pretty professional, but it gets up to the line because people have very strong feelings about, what it really means to wow. And I think I've been trying to kind of summarize my thoughts in trying to figure out what does that really mean? And I think that the number one thing for me, and I think we're all kind of on the same page, but I just believe that meeting expectations of a customer, and we're going to talk about that, is more important than exceeding. Now, that doesn't mean exceeding is not vastly important, right? But so many organizations are trying to exceed when they can't, and you guys know I love the blocking and tackling analogy, when they can't just meet the core expectations of a customer. So what has happened is that we have dropped the bar so far that, just meeting expectations in most industries is actually exceeding, which I know that kind of sounds weird, but it's so true, right? So many issues come about with wait times and how agents talk to customers, the tone that they use, that really, customers are now not looking for that amazing virtuoso experience. What they're looking for is, did you handle my problem? Did you do it really quickly? Did you get me off the phone as quickly as possible? Those are the types of things that they're looking for. I want to talk to you today, and I'm going to talk about false hustle. And false hustle is a concept that I coaching basketball is a concept that we use in basketball when players, they dive for no reason. They're out of control defensively, but they're playing so super hard, but they're always out of position because of it. Right? We call that false hustle. And I see false hustle in the contact center and customer service all the time. And I believe it is the biggest disconnect between what brands think that customers want and what customers actually want, right? Nobody wants to be thanked every single time that they give a piece of of their name, right? Give a piece of data about them. So can I ask your name? My name is Tom. Tom, thank you, Tom. What is your last name? Laird. Laird, thank you. What is the last four digits of social security number? It's 3872. Okay, thank you. Right. Again, customers don't need to be thanked after every single piece of information. Right. But the problem that we're starting to see, and the problem that many organizations have, is they use a QA scorecard. Right. And on that QA scorecard are checklist things that an agent has to do because some C-level person says this is actually how we want our customers treated. But they never really go through the process of listening or hearing it. They just say, yeah, we should be thanking our customer after every single piece of information. Right? All that stuff is the fake I'm sorry. I can't stand the fake I'm sorry. No matter what my issue, my question is, you're going to tell me that you're sorry. You're not sorry, right? And to be honest, it's almost a little demeaning, right? When we're kind of throwing that kind of stuff out there because you're a robot and the customer knows you're a robot and they know that you're just saying this stuff because you got to say this stuff because you got to get an 89 on your QA or you're going to get written up. And that's the biggest disconnect I think that we are really, really starting to see. Oh yeah, and hey, people are coming through. I have 40 tickets to Call Center Expo. All you got to do is, again, if you want to DM me on LinkedIn or TikTok and you want to shoot me just your email address, I will. I'll shoot them out to you today, and more than happy to do that. But all right, let me give you going through that thing because I'm going to talk about false hustle a little bit more and kind of the disconnect between brands and what customers actually want. This is how I think you can wow customers. Here's my 2 cents into this. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but if you're going to ask me, hey, how do you really wow a customer? What do customers really want? This is what I'm going to tell you. All right, I'm going to start on the macro level. Number one is they want omni-channel. They don't know they want omni-channel, but in their mind, omni-channel means I get to pick the choice, the way that I interact with a brand. If I want to chat, I want to chat. If I want to throw things on Facebook and TikTok, that's what I want to do. If I want to use voice, if I want to use email, if I want to use SMS, if I want to use any channel that I prefer, right? And again, we're talking about kind of what I'm saying is like a world-class in today's market, right? Whatever that means, a world-class experience. So it starts. You can't be telling me that I can only interact with you with email. You can't be telling me that I can only interact with a digital experience like through chat or through Facebook or Twitter. If you're dictating how I'm going to measure you, you're already done, right? With the whole wowing experience. Because no matter what happens there, right? You've not put in the time or the effort, right? Or the financial aspect of this to really start on the right foot with what a customer wants. So that's the first piece, right? Got to do that. Number two is quick response times. Now, quick response times can mean different things for different industries, right? And this is where we get to what the heck is really wowing, right? If I'm calling the Ritz-Carlton, I'm expecting that phone to be picked up in 1 or 2 or 3 rings. If I am calling an airline, if I'm calling a internet company or a cable company, my expectation might be under 3 minutes. So again, that's where we kind of get to the point of, all right, what is that industry average? What are the core companies in my industry? What are they doing? And I'm trying to exceed that, right? That's where everybody's kind of head is. I think where we're a little bit different in kind of some of the thought process. You can't tell me because it's impossible, right? We want a airline, we want, Expedia.com or any of these guys to answer our call within 30 seconds or less. A lot of them, there's just so much volume. They're trying to force things to self-service. They just physically can't do it and financially be viable. I get all that, right? But there still needs to be understanding what the benchmark is for your industry, and you're dying to try, to be better than that. So quick response times, I think it's the second, right? Omni-channel. Don't tell me how I got to interact with you. Secondly, I'm going to, be able to take my interaction quickly. All right. Number 3 is don't false hustle me, right? Don't be telling me thank you every single time. I'm okay with a scripted opening, right? Thank you for calling XYZ Bank. You want to brand it a little bit there. Totally fine with that. But what I would like you to do is ask yourself 2 things after that, right? How am I going to interact, and what do I need my agents to say? And I think this is the big differentiator, right? Because great tone, Great tone takes care of all of your false hustle needs, right? It takes care of your delight. It takes care of the wowing aspect of this. So instead of thanking a customer after 37 times of giving a piece of information, after saying that you're sorry and that this happened to you when you're really not sorry, have just a conversation with amazing tone. Hey, Mrs. Smith, thanks for calling. I really appreciate it. I'm going to ask you for about 4 or 5 different pieces of information. Let's get through this really quick, right? Kind of get through that. I really appreciate that. Like, you have a tone. How can I help you? And, oh, you know what? I think I know exactly what you need, right? That's way better than saying, I'm very sorry for that happening to you today. Let me see what I can do, right? That you just said to the last 7,200 customers. And what we say, right? So that little phrase at the end, I know probably freaks a lot of you out. But what to say is based on the culture of your organization and the individual that's on the other end of the phone. So let's say that we have somebody who's maybe a little bit older and needs you to go a little bit slower, right? You understand that. That needs to come into your tone. That needs to go into how you play the game with that customer. Let's say you have an 18-year-old who's calling in. You understand how they want to be spoken to, right? Now, if your brand allows that, right? Because this goes into this too, right? I get a bank, right? A bank needs to be a little bit more formal. And I want my bank to be formal. I don't want them to be saying, "What's up, dude?" Right? I don't want that, right? I'm okay with the sirs and some of that to a greater extent, because there is a little bit of a difference. But if I'm calling a really cool company, if I'm calling a Web3 company, if I'm calling somebody who sells t-shirts, right? If I'm selling, if I'm calling somebody that's, a little bit more hip, trying to kind of have a different type of culture, I want that agent on the other end to be the extension of that brand, right? So many times we see the brand get scared of who they are, and they don't have their agents project who they are as a brand. And some people do this great, like Zappos and that, they do it awesome, right? You want to know when you call an organization that you're talking to that company, right? That person or that agent is an extension of it, that they're not doing some false things, that they're not just going through the motions, right? And that they can kind of understand who I am. If I say, "Hey, listen, I'm in a real hurry. Can I do this?" And you're still thanking me and you're going through this motion, that's not wowing. That's creating a difficult experience for me. I don't want that experience. So again, instead of doing the thank yous and all that stuff, right? Understand how we want to talk, which is having amazing tone, right? Tone is everything. You've heard me say the tone is the message. And then what to say is based on your culture and based on the individual on the other line, right? And not everybody's going to be perfect and not everybody's going to be the same. And I think that's what makes an experience really cool. Because if you have the same experience that's bad over every single call, but you think is good, that's the huge disconnect, right? We cannot say our QA scores are at a certain level and hope that we're at, all of our agents are at a 95. Yeah, they're at a 95 based on that spreadsheet that you have that you're checking things off of. Now, things are evolving, right? You guys know I'm a huge speech analytics guy. I'm huge into sentiment, which is then going to tone. Huge piece of it, right? So I think that sentiment scores are having an impact. And as more and more companies start to utilize sentiment and speech analytics and get away more from that QA score, get away from the CSAT and the NPS thing, like you guys know, for me, I get really frustrated with when you look at CSAT and we talk about the kind of the two pillars that respond to those things. They're either really happy with the outcome of the call. Now, granted, if the rep was a total jerk, I get it, but they're really happy with the outcome of the call, not the experience of the agent. And all the experience that I've had with CSAT scores, it's the outcome of the call on either end. So the agent could be absolutely unbelievable, doing a great job, but they could not give a refund because it's a policy, right? That customer says their experience was bad. On the flip side, we did everything that we could, but we kind of went through the motions. A lot of time you'll get a higher score. So again, I think sentiment is now coming into play because tone is becoming more important, and less important is words that we say, right? That we're getting a check mark for to say, "Good job, good boy," right? I think that's a huge piece. And the last kind of piece of this that I think is first call resolution policies and procedures for your frontline agents. right? If you start to see that you have multiple tiers, right? And granted, sometimes you have to, right? Sometimes some things are so complex, no doubt. You're into tech support, you're into some of this stuff that you do need, a huge swath of knowledge and a SME to really understand what's going on. But for most organizations, that's not the case. We're only allowing our agents to do a small percentage of what they can do. And then either it's a transfer or it's a, hey, I'll call you back, or hey, somebody will get back to you within 24 hours. Or we think we fixed it, but we don't. They have to call back just because the policies and the procedures and what you're allowing your front end agents is too limited. And I see that when I consult all the time. And when we kind of open up the book a little bit more, it's amazing what can happen. And then, with that is just being consistent with everything that we just talked about, and understand that, I'm going to get that type of experience from this organization. It's not going to be the same thing of thank yous and I'm sorries and, all of these scripted things that organizations just jam into their agents to just spit out and regurgitate. But it's a one-on-one experience that I'm having with an agent that is based on the brand, that is based on the culture of the organization, and that's based on kind of the want and the need that I'm kind of showing through my voice, through my question, through my tone. Extremely difficult to do, right? I don't think it's easy. It's extremely difficult, and that's why nobody really does it, right? They stay to QA, they stay to having these, we're not scripted, right? But you kind of are, because you're telling you and dictating to your agents kind of what they should be saying during certain instances. So I think the false hustle piece is a huge piece of what is happening in the industry and what is wrong, right? And I think we're going to get better. I think we're getting better because sentiment and having the systems kind of score what is being said is going to be much more important than having that human being check a list off of specific things that we heard on the call that our C-level people say that we have to say. And I think doing this is a lot more fun, right? Because number one, it creates a little bit of freedom for the individual, as long as they're staying kind of within the culture voice, to be the individual, right? You're not creating robots, right? Human robots that are just kind of dictating all of these things out there. So again, I think that's what I would say is wowing today, right? Every level is different, right? It's not about service level. It's not about just having this conversations with our customers that they act like they're our friends. Like there's all this kind of skewed, what is wowing, what is having a great experience on the call. And again, for me, that's kind of what it is. So again, sum up, don't tell me how I got to talk to you. Give me a variety of options. Answer my call quickly based on how your industry works. Don't false hustle me. Don't give me all of your scripted jargon, right? That makes me feel like I'm just another tick mark, right, on the calls that need to be answered for today, right? Understand what the organizational culture is. Understand what the individual on the other line is, and try to match those two, right? Have policies and procedures in place for first call resolution, right? So that you can you're empowering your agents to be able to do that, and to be able to handle those issues, and try to do that over and over and over again, right? So again, not easy, but I think a really good example. Really need AI to know if. So again, just a couple of things on TikTok. So Brent, you say really need to know if info is accurate or not, though. Really need to know AI. Really need AI to know if info is accurate or not, though. Yeah, I mean, I'm still having the human being kind of take that in, right? We'll get to the point of AI, and you guys have. I've talked a lot about that, but just talking about the individual contact center experience. How can we be different than the robots, right? How can we save jobs? How can we create experiences that are like this, that are not robotic? And so many organizations choose the robotic way of doing things instead of the human being, the human aspect of it, right? Again, with talking about that the false hustle, talking about scripted things that you have to say. We're turning our agents into robots. And maybe we're training customers because the AI will be able to take over very quickly. But for me, I think if we can create more individual experiences, right? Have actual human conversations, understand the culture, understand the tone, understand those types of things. And then having a really good active listening with the customer on the other end. And what do they want? Do they just want to get off the phone as quickly as human possible? Do they maybe want to have a conversation? Do I need to slow down for them? What is on the other end that I can make their experience individualized? So again, instead of me dictating, I think the customers or the brands dictate how the experience should go. I think it should be the customer that is dictating how the experience should go. And that's the big shift. And I think one of the reasons that things aren't great, because again, we tell customers, this is how your experience will be, when customers might not want that. Not all of them do. And we have to change for the actual customer, right? To make sure that their experience is what they want, not what we want. And again, that goes kind of like with that omni-channel thing, right? Not telling them they have to be here, but having them tell us, hey, this is how I want to interact. So giving your customer kind of more of a say in the service model instead of you dictating how the service model will be, I think is a huge way how you can wow customers, create really cool experiences, and be unique in your industry or your niche, compared to kind of what other people are doing with being petrified of what a contact center agent is going to say. And so again, while it's not scripted, nobody's really scripted anymore, maybe other than a disclosure. They still, are checking boxes out from a QA standpoint to make sure that we're staying on the same page. So that's what I got for you guys today. I did post that on LinkedIn. We went back and forth with it with a ton of different comments. I never really got a chance to post what I thought, wowing is. So I wanted to do a full podcast, and then I'll create a bunch of videos here too that I'm sure hopefully we'll spark some more conversation. And I think, can change, some of the things that we're doing, or at least get people to think in different brands and different organizations that maybe are a little bit more forward thinking, maybe a little less conservative, and allow real agent experiences to happen for the customer, where they can kind of dictate how the service model goes. Any other questions that you guys have? And I see there are some things on TikTok. I'm sorry that the call center was your worst career choice. Kids, go somewhere else. I think that's a bad experience. I would not say that that's what I would hope that my agents would say, or a lot of agents would say. But I understand that there's a lot of, it's a tough job, and there's a lot of places that aren't great. And again, I think that's why we do the podcast, and that's why we create all this content, to try to make things a little bit different, try to improve what the overall view is, and change the mindset a little bit. Obviously, from a lot of the comments I get on TikTok, that's probably not really happening, especially when we talk about wages or agent engagement or those kind of things. But overall, at least I'm trying. So Rich, he asked a question: how do you prepare for call center audits? So what type of audit? Are you talking like a PCI audit? Are you talking about when your QA gets audited? Are you talking about, there's a ton of different kind of things, banks will come in and audit us for security aspects. Can you be a little bit more specific there if you can, and, see if I can, we've been through so many different types of, the security audits have been, since COVID, have been a huge thing as well. Here's a question on TikTok. Let me throw you up here. All right. So this topic came up with a friend of mine who uses wow experiences in bio. I asked, how do you measure that? His answer to that is, if you can get the customer to say anything close to the word wow when responding to the experience, that representative is providing a place to start. I mean, I guess the point is, it's easy to measure if somebody says wow, but it's not easy to say, how did we get to that point? And a lot of people are, that's the struggle, right? The struggle is, again, what constitutes a wow, and how do you get there? Right? And for so many organizations, they think that wowing a customer is saying those scripted things and doing those things on a consistent level. And maybe for them, they're feeling good about that because they do have okay CSAT and they're good. But I don't think that is the way to really, 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 I don't know, find some some amazing, thing that a customer is really going to go out and talk to, like NPS says they will, right? They'll go on social media and say, hey, I had this. I think if I have a cool experience with a customer service agent that helps me, we're having a human conversation. He's laughing and we're having that really good back and forth. I think that's the huge kind of the building rapport aspect. But I don't think you can get that if you're holding me off by two hands by kind of just lying and saying that you're sorry for things and that you're so thankful that I'm giving you my last name. For me, it's a waste of time. And I guarantee your handle time and all that things are a little bit longer. And I think it can be a little frustrating. So I have on TikTok, jobs and call centers should be handled by AI. AI won't need therapy after years of constant verbal abuse. Yeah, and some of these jobs are extremely difficult. I think they can be handled. It definitely takes a certain individual to do it. I think AI will take over some of those very difficult type of situations. But again, I think we're not human beings on both ends of the phone, right? We a lot of customers come in and they call, right, like ready to go. And when we just give them, the same type of experience that we just gave to somebody who had a really good experience, right? They don't match, right? We're not really listening to that customer right away from their need, right? We're just trying to pigeon them into this is how we answer these calls. And if we can talk some of those things through ahead of time, if we can be more human, I think a lot of that difficult customer experiences can go away. Listen, a really, really great customer service agent, and I have them here. They're absolutely phenomenal. They will turn, and you can see the live sentiment scores where a customer will come in at like just red hot, right? And through the call, right? And I should probably put it this way, red hot, and then they start to go down, right? Their negative sentiment goes down. And by the end of the call, it's a positive sentiment call for the brand. And again, not everybody can do that, right? But the really good customer experience, the customer service representatives that can, they're gold, right? And they should be paid a decent wage, and they should be paid more because they do handle things. So, listen, I understand, I hear you, but I think that there's more that managers and C-level people can do to support that, and we don't, right? We don't. We just say answer the calls like this. I need your QA score to be here. If you had a rough call, go have a cigarette. Right? Instead of really kind of going through how we can make the experience for the agent and the customer better. So then the question is, how much of that is training and how much is innate talent? Love that question. So it's culture, number one, right? And now you're talking kind of wheelhouse stuff. And if people have listened to me, are going to probably tune out now because I've talked about it so much. But from an innate talent standpoint, right, you have to have your contact center, have to have the culture defined. So like for us at Expedia, we say a sunshine attitude with an entrepreneurial mindset. That boils down to attitude and effort. We're hiring, incenting, promoting off of attitude and effort. I just posted on LinkedIn about 10 of our questions that we ask incoming potential agents that show you what one is attitude, what question is attitude, what question is effort, what are some of the things that we're looking for with it. And we try to hire off of that, right? So I don't care how much call center experience you have. I don't care if you've been doing it for 20 years. If you don't match what we want, then we're not going to bring you on. And then there is a huge piece of it that is training. But we can train this at any point, but you have to have kind of the right, the right starting point for it. Somebody that will be into it. And I think, a lot of times we're just in the call center space, we got to have 50 people. We got to get them in quick, and they're just not really good fits for that type of role or that type of job. And again, we have huge issues. So if you don't have your culture defined, you're going to make huge mistakes. If you have your culture defined, you're going to make less mistakes. You'll still make them, but make less mistakes. And then training will be really important. Nobody works in a call center for 20 years. It's not true at all. I mean, maybe not on the phone, right? But I think I have people here that have been in the industry 25, 30 years. They've been on the phone for 10, 15, became supervisors, became, head of a production shift, became head of QA. They're in client services. They're in financial control. Just because somebody works in a contact center doesn't mean they'll stop, right? Or, I think that the job shouldn't be you shouldn't be on the phone for 20 years, right? If you're in the industry for that long, you're going to be really good to the point where you could become that supervisor to make everybody else good like you. But then, I have some people as well that they've been on the phone for 10, 15 years. That's all they want to do. They don't care. They're awesome at it. But they don't want that role of maybe helping somebody else, right? Or they just want to worry about themselves, which is totally fine, right? Within kind of our cultural aspect. So I do disagree with that comment as well. That nobody works in the call center for 20 years. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 9, so I don't know. Lower have we noticed lower turnover since we started focusing on our contact center's culture? There's not a doubt about it, right? I think we are one of the leaders with our yearly turnover when it comes to our contact center agents. I will tell you that we have things that we're looking for in training, right? So we really don't want you, if we have a 2-week train and you're just doing this the whole time, like not into it at all, right? We're not, it's not going to happen, right? It doesn't work. It's not happening because again, attitude and effort, the attitude's off, right? So that was a mishire. We're trying to do everything we can, not only to train and educate and have fun during our onboarding, but we're also looking for, hey, did we screw up anywhere with somebody who it's not a good fit for us? Not a bad person, right? Probably could do a ton of different things, but for the thing that we need right now, we're not a good match. So once we get you out, and I'll tell you what, if you're with us for 90 days, you really don't leave for years. You're here for years, or you're progressing to a supervisor or another role. And there's a ton of different things that we have in the organization. And I'll be honest, if you don't want to work for Expedia and you want to say, hey, I want to go work for a big insurance company down the road, I want to go work for this hospital down the road, we're going to talk that through and try to kind of help you. How do we get to that level? Do you want to become a supervisor so that when you go apply down the road, right, your resume is going to look better? That's fine. Let's do that. Let's get the most out of our experiences together. Get the most out of what you want to do, and we get to try to get the most out of you for what we need. And we have a mutual understanding, and we help each other. And I think if you can kind of develop that kind of culture, then everybody knows that we're all pulling together. Instead of, listen, you're just a call center agent, go answer the phone, right? Hey, you didn't do that. You're 3 days suspended, right? Now, granted, we can be pretty strict with some of the things that we do, right? Because again, we're working with clients, and if somebody swears or somebody says something that's way out of line, there's only so many certain things that I can help you with. But if you're going to kind of be a part of this and you have great attitude, you're giving effort, we're going to have a really cool relationship, and we're going to be able to do some things together to help each other. All right. Last, any other questions that you guys on LinkedIn or on TikTok? Also, I have probably 8 to 10 of you guys that want tickets to Call and Contact Center Expo. I have like 25 of them left. So, please, shoot me an email or DM me on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to kind of shoot you guys a couple tickets. And Rich, no, don't be sorry, man. That's a great question. I think that that's helpful. So, how is the pipeline for new hires right now? Well, we never stop hiring because we're looking for a specific type of agent. We probably hire about 10% of the interviews that do come through. So our pipeline is constantly going. We're always on social media. We found that's the best way for us to get agents in the door and to get the word out about us. So we'll always have different type of social media posts going on. Indeed, a little bit, but I think it's gotten a little bit harder. We kind of, I've told the joke a couple of times. I don't know how funny it is, but it's almost easier to find an engineer right now than it is to find a really great contact center agent. And so we're always looking, always keeping the pipeline going. We always have a class that we could pull the trigger on really at any time of, whether that's 10 or 20 or 30 agents for a single class. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the name of the game is constantly be looking. Don't just look when you need. I think that's what we have found to be the best kind of way to kind of deal with it, and then just be honest with the people too. Of there could be some, a little bit of delay, but hey, we got you in next class that we have for whatever client comes in, because we're dealing with financial services and insurance and tech support and retail and Web3 and NFTs and so the swath of different things for our BPO that we're trying to always hire for, or when a new client comes on, we're always looking to make sure that we have the right people. All right, anything else? Going once, going twice. Thank you guys for everybody who was here on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for TikTok. You guys make this so much fun. Every single time we do a podcast, it always turns into an AMA, which turns into probably something that's totally opposite the podcast, which I love. And I think, I'm here to, again, try to help as much as I possibly can with any of you that are out there, that are in the call center space, that are a supervisor, that are even an agent, or so many of you guys have come to me like, they just handed me this call center. I've never done this. I have 35 agents, and where do I start? And again, push it to the podcast first. And then, I'm more than happy to have any type of conversations with anybody who needs some help or just has any questions as well. So again, see, and I'm sorry, I don't know. Can't the player? Listen, you came in at me hot. You said call centers suck. And look what I did. I was a good call center agent. And then you just came good luck making call centers better. I like your mentality. You're fighting an uphill battle, but she's leaving or he's leaving the AMA in a positive sentiment tone. Right. So I think you can do that, right? If we have a good conversation, we can hopefully I was able to change your mentality a little bit, or at least how you think, or at least towards me, you can be you're a little bit more positive. So again, that was a kind of I think a cool way to kind of show that. So, all right, guys, thank you. I'll be live next week. I will probably do an AMA on. I've not done a LinkedIn audio event in a couple weeks, so I'll probably do that later this week as well. And again, you want a ticket to Call and Contact Center Expo, hit me up. I got you. I'll shoot that over to your email for free. Thanks, guys.